Hi YouTube, it's Janelle here. In this video, I'm going to be sharing my favorite TED Talks that I've watched over the past few years. There's definitely so many different TED Talks, but a lot of them, while they're informative and really educational and helpful, some of them tend to be pretty boring. Before I share with you exactly which ones I picked, I want to let you all know that I'm going to be doing another YouTube Live right here on the channel on Thursday, February 1st at 8 p.m. EST. So come back to the channel and join me for that. I'm going to be doing another Ask Me Anything, just taking questions and kind of talking to you guys. I really love engaging with you, answering questions, answering emails. The last YouTube Live was so much fun for me. So I'm going to be doing another one. That's going to be next week on Thursday. So come back for that. Go ahead and follow me on Facebook, on Instagram, like, share, all that. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And yeah, let's go ahead and jump in. So the first talk is by Alexa Von Tobel, and she is the CEO/creator of LearnVest, which is a great money platform. It's a website and also a service provided to people to help them manage their money. And she's really great. She's young. I think she was like 30 top 30 people under 30 who she's super successful, super smart, went to Harvard, and then went back to Harvard again for business school. So just a lot of people are really impressed by her, especially with the company that she started, being super helpful for millennials and just young people in general who want to learn more about money and get some help for an affordable price. And her TED Talk is called One Life-Changing Class You Never Took. And if you follow me on social media, you know I'm always talking about how, personal finance is something that is supposed to be taught in schools. It's a no-brainer that you would teach people how to manage their money, because the whole point of going to school is so you can get a job and make money when you graduate. So in this TED Talk, she talks about this girl named Jessica, and it's just like a hypothetical girl, but she uses her as an example, and she says, let's follow this girl Jessica from when she graduates college, and follow her till she get her first job and she starts working, and follow her through her life. She meets somebody, gets married, starts having kids, all the stuff, yada yada, right? And the whole time you kind of start to see the mistakes that she's been making along the way, and learning what she should have done when she got to a certain point in her, to certain stages in her life. And so at the end of the talk, she says, what if you could rewind back time and go and like undo all of Jessica's mistakes and teach her something that would help her change the whole trajectory of her life. And I thought that, that makes a lot of sense. That's what a lot of people need. They need to hear this so they can not make those mistakes. And so she puts 5 principles in this video. She talks about the 5 things that we should be teaching people before they graduate college and go into the real world. So definitely check out that video. I'm going to link it right here so you guys can just click that and go check it out. If you're interested, it's a really great talk. I'm also going to put all the links for the TED Talks right below here in the description box as well. So you guys can just wait till the video's over. Whichever ones you really did like, you can just go down below and click the links. The next video that I think is one of the best videos that I've ever seen to help me kind of understand why it's so important to like force myself to do things now that are really hard to do, like saving a lot of money and thinking about retirement when I'm not even 30, all that kind of stuff. I think watching a video like this one makes you kind of think about things a little bit differently. So this TED Talk is called Saving for Tomorrow. And it's by Shlomo Benartzi, who is an economist, and he's really, really funny, really smart, and he kind of gives, again, like examples, but not really necessarily examples. These are more like case studies and research studies that he has done and his team has done, and he kind of talks about all of the different results that these studies have shown that basically prove how people think about themselves, like in the future, doing the right thing, but right now they never do the right thing, or they rarely do the right thing. I don't want to say never. So one example that he gives is like, talking to the crowd of people at the TED Talk. And he says, if you guys are all at this TED Talk right now, let's say I came up to you and said, hey, next week you're going to come back for another TED event, and I'm going to offer you guys 2 snacks. You can either have a banana or you can have a chocolate. And which one would you pick? And most people say, oh, I would pick the banana. Next week I would have the banana because, whatever, banana is more healthy option than chocolate. But then he says in real life, when he actually put this into practice with people at an event, 7 days later, I think it was like 27% of the people said that they would eat the chocolate. And then 7 days later, when they were offered bananas and chocolate, they looked at all the people and 70% of the people actually ended up eating chocolate. even though 26% of them said they would eat the chocolate, 70% of them actually ate it, and which means only 30% of the people in there ate bananas. This idea is that in the future, you always think you're going to do the right thing, or most people say like, tomorrow I'm going to do this, tomorrow I'm going to, or next year I'm going to save, or this year is just, I can't. This year I have this. I'm finishing school. I'm finishing this, or whatever. All these excuses we come up with. It's never a good time. But next year I'm going to start, or I'm going to start when I graduate, or I'm going to start when I get my first job. Whatever things we say to ourselves, it's always in the future. And he's like, we just need to do it right now. And again, saving for tomorrow. I'm going to link that right here. Also, link will be in the description box below. The third video that I want to share is called Financial Literacy, and it's by Melody Hobson, who is the CEO, or was the CEO, maybe not CEO, just president of Ariel Investing, which is a company like somewhere in the Midwest. But she basically talks about her experience growing up. She struggled a lot. Her parents, or her mom, was a single mom, and she even talks about how they sometimes were evicted and sometimes barely had enough money to buy food. Like, her memories of her childhood, things weren't always so squeaky clean, and things were tough. She had a really tough experience when there were times where her mom was having a rough time and trying to figure out how they were going to get money to do things that they had to do. And so she watched her mom and kind of like was upset, I guess I would say, because she couldn't like fix it or really take control. She was just a kid, and she would see her mom make like really poor decisions. Like, her mom would be like, oh, we have to pay the electricity bill, but it's Easter and I want my daughters to have pretty dresses. So she would buy her daughters Easter dresses instead of paying the electric bill. So basically, she watched her mom do all of that and was like, oh, Ma, this is kind of a hot mess. But she didn't, necessarily have the ability to control the situation or to change those decisions. So when she became older, she kind of became obsessed with, making the right financial decisions and putting herself in a position where she would never have to struggle like that again. Needless to say, she's super successful. And she's really, really smart. And at this point, she comes onto the TED Talk to basically say why it's so important that we should be talking about this and we should be teaching this. And she says that she launched a school, which I think is amazing, because like, I'm always talking about how we don't teach this in school, but she actually created a whole school where they have a financial literacy curriculum. So they actually teach personal finance concepts to the kids. She said in this video that there was like 500 students or something like that, maybe a little bit more, and that they were already over 10 years into this, the existence of this school. So that's amazing. Like, hats off to her. Dope. # goals, all of that. And I really think it's just inspiring to see, like, sometimes I get in my little moods where I'm like, oh, I'm saving all this money, I'm trying to do all this, I'm sharing videos on YouTube, but like, at the end of the day, if this isn't taught in schools, people aren't going to learn it. And that's just wrong. Instead of getting negative, I should be watching stuff like this. She's super inspiring. She started a school. She talks about how it's so important to stay hopeful and to keep on working hard towards what you want and learning and growing constantly. So this is definitely one of the TED Talks that I like bookmarked onto my my toolbar, whatever you call it on Google Chrome, because I just want to make sure I don't forget it, and sometimes I go back and rewatch it and I'm fired up. Like, this is such a good talk and her energy is really great. So again, if you want to watch that, the link is going to be up here. Also going to be down in the description box. The next video is a guy named Rutger Bregman, and Rutger is a historian, which to me is interesting because most of these talks are like economists or like business people who've been really successful, CEOs and stuff like that. But Rutger, he is literally just a historian. He's like a history nerd, and he has done a lot of research. He spent years reading everything he could read about basic income guarantee, which essentially was like this idea that this guy came up with hundreds and hundreds of years ago, but like largely has been ignored over time. And the reason why he says it's such a big deal is because, especially thinking about the way that the economy has been changing in the past, decade, 2 decades, and the direction it's going, inequality is only getting more and more exacerbated, right? The rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. That gap is, widening, or maybe not widening, but like the same people who have the wealth are just getting more and more wealthy. And then it's just really, really hard for everyone in the 99%. Mind you, the 1% is like billionaires. So talking about like that level of inequality and how dangerous that is, in a large scale, a lot of different people have been thinking about different ways to kind of flip that on its head and say, how can we change this? What can we do to make sure that poverty isn't so terrible for the people who are struggling, and meanwhile these billionaires don't even think about the poor. So there's a lot of different people who have come up with ideas, and one of the big ones is basic guaranteed income, which means that you will have the money that you need for food and basic needs for survival, so you don't have to necessarily work to make money. You get work to contribute something to society. So he basically says a lot of people in the jobs that they do have reported feeling like their job is useless, their job is a waste of time, and some people even said that their companies or their organizations where they work could exist and run perfectly fine without their job. So basically saying we need to change the way things are going, and especially the reason why I thought this talk was really good is because it makes a lot of sense. Thinking about the way that technology is changing so much, there's so many jobs that used to exist that don't exist anymore. A lot of factory jobs, just a lot of different positions that people used to think are very popular kind of job are not going to be very popular in the near future, and were popular a long time ago aren't very popular anymore. So he talks a lot about that, and I think this talk is really, really great because it pushes people, to think beyond the status quo, and to not just be like, oh, this is just the way things are, there's nothing we can do. Actually, thinking about creating new ideas and trying to come up with solutions to the problem rather than just accepting the problem as the norm, is something that I think I myself always need to be doing, but everybody should just be doing that. So gonna link that talk up here and also again down here. Okay, this is the last TED Talk for this video, which is one of my favorites. It's not necessarily the best, most engaging, blah, 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 but Dan Ariely, he is a behavioral economist, and he is super smart. He does all these research studies about human behavior and the way that people make decisions when it comes to money. And in this talk, it's called "Are We in Control of Our Own Decisions?" Is not specific to money like some of the other TED Talks that I shared, but it does really show you how people would make certain decisions when it comes to money that probably aren't the best decision, but you could understand why they would make that decision. So I'll talk about one of the examples that he puts in this video is that he says some countries, especially in Europe, some countries have a lot of people that are organ donors. So when they die, they decided at some point in their life that they would, donate their organs to people who need them, when they're dead. So they start to study, the difference between certain countries, and they started to see some countries, almost nobody decides to be an organ donor. And then there's other countries on the other side where 100%, 96% of people say they want to donate organs. And so they start to wonder, what is different about these countries? Is it that these people who live in this country are so much more generous and kind and, considerate? Or is it, something? What's going on? So they started to research, and they found out that the reason why was because the forms are different in the countries where people are more willing to donate versus where they're not. And the simple difference is that when the box that they go to check, when you go to get your driver's license or whatever identification at the DMV, they ask you on the form, when if anything were to happen, would you want to be an organ donor? Click or check the box if you want to donate your organs. And most of the time, the people don't check the box. It's a lot of work to check a box. I don't know, whatever. There's a lot of psychology to it. If you watch the video, you'll see what exactly it is that plays into it. But basically, the people don't check the box. And then in the other countries where people do donate organs, the question on the box next to the box doesn't say check if you want to donate. The box says check if you don't want to donate. And so nobody checks it, which means that they all saying that they do want to donate. So they all become organ donors just by the fact that the default of the form, the blank form, means that people will be donating rather than not. So it's like opting in versus opting out. And to me, that just in my head was like, that's so the way it is with retirement investing. Like, I know at certain jobs you'll get a form. It's like, do you want to participate in your 401k? Do you want to contribute like this much percent of your income? Most people do not want to opt into that because this money is taken out of their paycheck. They don't want to do that. They'll do that next year. They'll start next time. They won't do that this time. All the money should come to them so they can spend it. So that idea, it's like so easy to understand why so many people end up in certain situations because of the way that, behavioral economics works, or the way that the psychology behind the decisions works kind of helps understand it. Anyway, Dan Ariely is really funny, and I really like this talk a lot. This is one of my favorite TED Talks that I always tell people to watch. So you can watch it right here. You can also watch it right here. All right, you guys, that's all I have in this video. I know it was really long, but I just wanted to share those TED Talks because they are some of my most favorite TED Talks, and I have them bookmarked. And anytime I know that there's something that impacts me and motivates me and pushes me to do better and learn more, I want to share that as often as I can. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you can check out some of those links and that you really enjoy the TED Talks. If you do, come back and comment and tell me what you thought about them so I can, discuss them with you guys. And that's pretty much it. Next week, Thursday at 8 p.m., February 1st, I will have my next YouTube live right here on the channel, so come back and join me for that. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Share the video, and that's all I have. Till next time, peace.